Yo, what's up? What's up? What's up? Pardon the noise in the background. We just kind of had like a fight get together. Um, Big night of fights. Jaron Boots Ennis put on a clinic. He beat Custio Clayton, the Canadian Olympian. He knocked him out in the second round. He looked sharp. He looked determined. He looked nice, right? And Jamel Charlo, he took care of business with Castano and took him out in the 10th round. So both fighters that everybody came to see did what they were supposed to do and they handled business. Let's start out with the co-main. So Jerron Boots Ennis from Philly, he got a lot of people behind him. He got a lot of talk going along with him, and he showed that he was the real deal, man. He came in, he looked in great shape. He looked sharp as a needle, and he didn't do too much switch hitting today. He didn't have to. He didn't stay there long. You heard his post fight comment. He said he don't get paid for overtime. So yeah, just that jab was giving Custio Clayton problems, and I stepped away for like a second to go to the bathroom, and when I came back, I saw Boots with his hands raised. I was like, man. So, long story short, Castile Clayton got caught with the quick overhand right, right behind the ear by the temple. And when you get hit with a shot like that, it messes up your equilibrium. So, shouts out to him. He came from Canada. He was game, but he don't got enough firepower for Boots Ennis. So, Boots, I interviewed Boots a couple weeks ago, and he said he wants a couple more fights before the year is out. So I already know that he knows he's not going to be able to fight the winner of Spence or Crawford anytime soon because they're going to fight first. So that fight is going to probably happen later on in the year, maybe in September, maybe, but it's more later on in the year or early next year. So that means he'd have to wait almost another year before he gets one of those guys. Um, but I've been hearing Keith Thurman rumbling about, fighting Boots. But the thing with Keith Thurman, I respect him. I think he's a great fighter. You can't follow what Keith Thurman says until he puts his name on the dotted line. That's the bottom line with that. But Keith Thurman versus Boots Ennis, that'd be nice. I'll definitely tune in to watch that. And if we can't get the Spence Crawford against Ennis, there's nothing wrong with that fight. So Boots, I saw after the fight, his people and Errol Spence and Spence's people, they were kind of, chirping a little bit. So, you know, it's going to be interesting. But it was a great night. The fights were outside in California. The weather looked like it was A1. So, good fight for Boots. Good showing. Um, uh, I had a feeling it was going to end soon. And for Boots, that's 19 straight knockouts. So Boots ain't been playing, man, and he's focused. He's locked in. Um, like I said, he looks like he's like the LeBron James of boxing. You know what I'm saying? So let's move on to Charlo against Castano. So the first fight was controversial. Some people thought Castano won. Some people thought Charlo won. So they had the second fight, the rematch, to figure it out. And this fight was a close affair for the most part. But the last three rounds, from like the end of the seventh to the 10th, was like Charlo, you could see, was pulling away. You know what I mean? Castano was running out of steam. I don't know if it was the body work or if it was just Charlo's physicality. He was kind of muscling him because Castano's not a tall guy. So this time around, to me, uh, Charlo looked more determined. He looked more focused. He looked more locked in, and he looked sharp. He looked great, in great shape, and it showed because in the later rounds, the championship rounds, like the 10th, he hit him with an overhand right, and then he hit him with a quick gut shot, and that's the first attack that made Castano fall. And then Castano, he got back up. He was game and valiant, but Charlo hit him with two jabs that snapped his head back, and the ref stopped it. You know what I'm saying? Before he took further damage, which was a good thing, because Castano's a warrior. He proved that, and he's game, and he'll be back. He'll be back. But yeah, it was a good fight. It was a good night of boxing. Charlo Castano fight was really good. Now the after effect of that Castano Charlo fight is Spence and Crawford have been chirping for the last 4 or 5 years. Everybody knows that, right? So at some point, cameras and microphones got put into the Charlo brothers' face, asking them, about their stablemate, which is Spence, and how he would do against Crawford. And I think Crawford got tired of hearing what Jamel Charlo was saying about him. So Bud Crawford said, you know what? After I take care of Spence, I'm gonna take care of you, Charlo. I'm moving up to 54 to handle you and keep my name out your mouth. That's what Bud has been saying. And a lot of it, you know how it is when two people got issues and you're too close to the action, sometimes the beef spills over into your plate. And I think that's the case here. It spilled over into Charlo's plate. I personally don't feel Charlo really wants that Crawford fight, but he's talking like, he's down for it. So, and this is all saying that Crawford does beat Spence. He's saying he's going to move up to 54 and unify at 54 and take Charlo out. That's what Bud is saying. Spence obviously is saying you have to get through me first. But to correlate both stories, which is Spence and Crawford and Boots Ennis, I think the Crawford versus Spence fight is both fighters' last fight at 147. For years, I've been saying Spence is a big 47 pounder. You know what I'm saying? At any moment, he could just go up to 54. And then Bud, who kind of been avoided and left on the shelf and was promoted by Bob Arum, he been kind of shelved for a few years. And the remaining years that he got, he said he's going to go up to 54. And now, from what Bud was saying is if he beats Spence and beats Charlo, he kind of sounds like he's going to retire. And that's not surprising because Bud has always said he wasn't the type of guy that was going to fight late into his late 30s, and he wasn't going to fight until he was 40 or anything like that. So he's more of a family man. He wants to, spend more time with his children and see them grow and be more present. And kudos to that. You know what I'm saying? But Bud said those two fights are definitely on his radar, and don't be surprised if he does that. As far as Spence and Crawford, I see them leaving the welterweight division, win or lose. Both of those guys will not stay at 47. I personally feel they do not want to deal with that hurricane called Boots Ennis because they know a storm is brewing and they don't want to deal with that. They're going to move up to 54 and greener pastures and maybe try to unify that. And this is where it gets a little fuzzy because if Spence goes up to 54, then might have friends fighting friends, man. You know what I mean? You might have friends fighting friends because Charlo's up at 54 already. So he'd have to fight Spence, or I don't know how that played itself out. And last week I heard a rumor that they were offering Spence some money to fight Canelo. I don't know how true that is. But I heard the fight was supposed to be at a catch weight at 164. But I don't really see that happening, especially after Canelo lost last weekend against Dmitry Bivol. And I heard Canelo, not only Canelo, but his fans are kind of bitter about the loss. But you know what it is. You know what they say in boxing. A skilled bigger man always beats a skilled smaller man. That's what they say. You know what I mean? And I personally feel Canelo don't got nothing to prove to nobody. He's still a pound for pound king. I feel he shouldn't do that rematch with Bivol because you run the risk of, you might get some wear and tear that you don't really need. And that's a big man. You're fighting at light heavyweight. You know what I'm saying? And those punches don't wear off, man. Like, that could take some years off your career. You know what I'm saying? And Bivol was very skilled, game, and smart in there. So the next time, you run the risk of either getting stopped or not being the same. You know what I mean? Or damaged goods. Not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying you run the risk. Where Canelo still got some good fights at 68. And he could even take a safe fight. He could go back and fight Triple G at 68. And Triple G's like 40, 41. Come on. He's not the same Triple G he was 5, 6, 10 years ago. And I think Canelo would stop Triple G, in my opinion, at this age of Triple G's career. And people want to see that fight still. So there's a bag there. So I don't know why he doesn't just go down to 68, gain some steam again, and maybe go back to light heavy if that's what he really wants to do. But to take an immediate rematch against Bivol, I don't know, brother. You know what I mean? But that's just my opinion. Again, it was a big night of fighting. Charlo looked sharp. Boots Ennis looked sharp. Um, and like I said, the welterweight division, I think is going to be Spence and Crawford's last hurrah. And I think the world has just been introduced to the new king of the welterweights, in my opinion. And that new king is from Philly, named Jaron Boots Ennis. Get familiar. You know what I mean? And I'm not all hopping on the bandwagon. This guy's been long overdue. He grew up in the sport. You know, he comes from a fighting family, and it's just his time. He's in his young 20s. You have to think Crawford. Crawford, the next time he fights, he's probably going to be 35. You get what I'm saying? Pardon the music in the background. You know, we had like a couple people here fight. You know, some music and stuff like that. So it's authentic. People still hanging out. But I just wanted to come on here, share my thoughts about the fights and things of that nature. And maybe Charlo might move up from 54 to 60. Who knows? I don't know. But you know, there's some fights still made to be had at 54. Um, but there's better fights at 60. You got Jaime Munguia. You know, you got some guys up there. So you know, the welterweight division is always going to be a hot division. But when Crawford and Spence leaves, then you got Boots, and Boots might fight Keith Thurman because that's a good name and that's a good fight. And if these guys leave, there's going to be a couple of belts that's going to be vacant. So it is what it is, man. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna stay too long, man, and talk y'all ear off, man. I'm gonna have my little drinky drink. Holla at your boy. Please like, share, and please subscribe. We on a race to 1,000 subscribers, man. Holla at your boys. Trevor Monroe, Play to Win Boxing. Get at me. Yeah.